Welcome to the Even Better podcast, where your host, Sinikka Waugh of Your Clear Next Step, brings you exciting content about making communities better by helping people get even better at work.
Hi, it's Haley from Your Clear Next Step. Did you know our mission is to help people have better workdays so that together they can co-create better communities? We do this by helping people make authentic human connections, deliver real business value, and treat change as a process, not an event. We have several upcoming classes that you won't want to miss. Sign up today at yourclearnextstep.com/events.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for yet another edition of the Even Better podcast. This is your host, Sinikka Waugh, and I am so delighted to welcome our guest, Urmi Hossain. She is here with us today. I am just meeting Urmi, and I am so delighted. I've already had the opportunity to connect with her just a little bit and to hear a bit of her story. And Urmi, welcome. Thank you for being a guest with us today.
Thank you for having me.
This is such a joy. So, we are all getting a chance to meet Urmi and to welcome her. And she is staying warm today in the city of Montreal and keeping warm in the winter weather up there. But she is a woman who wears many hats. And we're delving in today in the hat of mentorship and going to get to explore some of that today. But I hear her as someone who has showed up well as a woman in the financial industry, right? In financial services, in an industry that has not always been welcome and open to women. She has showed up strong and navigating that with strength and with purpose and bringing other women along in that industry. I've seen her just showing glimpses of not only her own passion, but also of bringing others along, right? Looking for her own way, finding her own purpose and her own strength, and also not allowing others to not come along with her, finding her path and bringing things forward with her own journey. So she is definitely, she's making her path. She's a published author. She is a speaker, a blogger, a podcast host. She's an international traveler. She does great things. She is a public speaker doing all sorts of fun things. I'm just learning now she's an active Toastmasters member, so that's fun. So all kinds of things that we'll learn about her. We're going to dive deeper in today, specifically in the space of mentorship, because as those who've been listening for a while know, I am passionate about the idea of helping others, right? And enabling others' success. And the idea of mentorship to me is so powerful. So we're going to spend some time there. But I have not done your bio justice. Urmi, what would you like to tell us about your story?
I mean, I feel like you did say enough about me already. I would definitely say I am a woman who wears a lot of hats. I find a lot of joy in doing different things. I think that, besides your 9 to 5, besides your corporate job, there is a lot more that comes that when you are dedicating your time towards doing things that you're passionate about, and mentorship, women's empowerment are two big things for me. I find a lot of fulfillment when it comes to doing those things, and I think it's important to find that balance and to be able to integrate your passions and your hobbies even in your day-to-day routine where maybe you are so committed to, going to work and following a routine, but sometimes doing things outside of your, 9 to 5 brings a lot of joy and happiness, and I always encourage people to do it. So that's the kind of person that I am. I like to find the balance between these two worlds, my 9 to 5 and my 5 to 9.
I love that. My 9 to 5 and my 5 to 9. I love this. Delightful. So, keeping that balance there. And I think if I'm reading you right in our first introduction here, that mentorship and those things that you do, there is space for that mentorship both in your 9 to 5 and your 5 to 9. There, you're mentoring and you're giving back and you're showing up for others. If I am reading this right and I'm watching you nod here, there is space for mentoring. There's space for bringing people along. There is space for helping others and casting just a little bit of light on that next step for someone else in both your day job, in your whether it's your corporate America or whether it's your retail America or wherever you're showing up. There's space for that in small business, in your day job, as well as in whatever hobby or whatever passion you're doing in your 5 to 9, as you put it. Yes.
Yes, yes. I think for me, mentorship has been so important, so instrumental in my personal development. I didn't know what the word mentorship meant before I moved to Canada, if I have to be honest. And I used to be a mentor when I was in university. So we're speaking about like 10 years ago. It was my first part-time paid job. And I remember I was asked to be a mentor for students. I was getting paid for this. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. But I didn't quite know what I was doing, to be honest. All I knew was that, oh, you have to like guide people in like, in if they're pursuing a degree in finance. And I was like, yeah, I'm good with that. I can do that. But then when I graduated, what happened is the word mentoring just kept showing up in my life. And I saw this as a sign. And what role I took when it came to mentoring was that I took a role of both a mentor and a mentee. So I used to be, I would say, mentee when I was like working in my corporate job in my 9 to 5, but then I was also a mentor outside of my 9 to 5. So during my 5 to 9, I was a mentor. And it's interesting because at work I was being mentored by like professionals, people who have been in the industry for so long, people who had a certain experience, had a certain title. But then outside of my 9 to 5, I was mentoring people that I wanted to mentor, like young women, girls pursuing, building their career, maybe women who were trying to figure out a little bit about their life. So it was different, but the same at the same time. I don't know if it makes sense. So here I'm learning, but at the same time, I'm also like giving back after work. And I do think mentoring it's a two-way relationship. Like you get a lot if you give a lot. So the more you give, the more you get back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that positioning yourself. I have this fervent belief as well that at any time we should all be learning from someone as well as sharing back, right? That idea that we should always be a mentee as well as a mentor. None of us has ever arrived at enough that we're always just the mentor. And none of us
Yeah.
is ever so lost and naive in this world that we have nothing to share back. We're never just the mentee. We're always we should always be in both positions. And I find that we can be so much more fulfilled and we can contribute, we can co-create greatness so much more effectively when we're actively doing at least a little bit of both.
Yeah, I agree, and I think there is never a stop to
Mm.
how much you can learn. And that's why I always say like mentorship is sort of like a long life journey, long life learning journey, I would say.
Mm.
You think that, okay, sometimes this mentorship relationship, there are 6 months commitment, let's just say, but I think it's a long-term commitment. And I think that you don't necessarily need to have a person specifically or formally being your mentor. I think you can learn a little bit from whoever you have around you. Like, I think I can learn from you from today's conversation. You can learn from me as well. I can learn from, like, I don't know, if I meet someone on the street. Like, I think there's always so much learning that you can get. And I think every single person that we meet is always like sharing a little bit of like wisdom and giving us guidance, sharing with us some resources. So I think it's a long-term commitment more than a short-term commitment.
I love that. And I wonder if as we explore this, if we think of mentorship in our lives as that long-term commitment to the idea of it, long-term
Mhm.
commitment to the idea of growing, long-term commitment to maybe it's not a long-term commitment to that specific nature of that relationship at that moment. And that will always be in this same relationship because I imagine that you've mentored lots of different people and you're not in the same kind of relationship with those people forever. It's not the same kind of long-term, but you have the same kind of long-term relationship with the idea of mentoring. Is that a good understanding?
Yes. Yes and no. I mean, in that I always like to believe that the mentorship relationship should be first about human connection and
Mm.
building that foundation that we normally do when we meet another human being. And I always say that's a strong foundation to really build a long-term relationship. So I think you always have to lay the foundation first, getting to know the person as who they are, and then think about business. I would say, think about the mentorship program, think about what are the goals that you want to achieve. But because I think sometimes we always think they're like short-term project, you only commit for 6 months and then you never speak to this person ever again. And it did happen. But I think for me, it's not about that. I still want to continue like speaking to my mentees. I want to know what they are doing. I want to know how far they are. And that's the mindset that I had to switch after, mentoring for so many years. Because with some of my mentees, I don't speak anymore. I don't speak to them anymore just because, of distance, because they don't live in Montreal. I did them virtually. But when I think about it, I'm like, I wish I stayed connected with them so that I could see what they are right now. So now I make an effort to really, reach out to my mentees after the mentorship relationship is over, because I think I want to see a little bit about their progress, how far they are, how far they have gone. And they appreciate when I make that, when I make those, like, check in with them. And I think it's important. It's part of your connections. Like, when they say your net worth is your connections are your net worth, I do like to believe in that. And some of these connections may come in handy sometime in the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk about finding and being the mentor that you need. As you describe this as a topic for us to talk about today, finding and being the mentor that you need. That's an interesting way to put that. Help us unpack that a little bit. What do you mean by that? Finding and being the mentor that you need.
So when I think about the word mentoring, I always think about, I want to be the mentor I never had. Because when I grew up, I did not have anyone to look up to. Like, I'm a woman of color. I did not have anyone that looked like me. I didn't have anyone, who had my same cultural background and so forth. And sometimes I was a struggle for me because I wasn't quite sure with who I should be speaking about a lot of my stuff. If I needed, some advice when it comes to education or career and so forth. And then when I started to join different organization and I was asked to be part of their mentorship program, even when I was looking for a mentee for myself, I had really clear goals of what I wanted. And I think when you're looking for a mentor or when you're looking to be paired up with a mentee, I think it's important that both parties have a clear goal of what they're looking for from this relationship. I think sometimes we're just put into a pair, like we're paired up with someone, but I think we're not on the same page. Like they are probably looking for certain things. I'm probably looking for certain things. And I think it's about mutual understanding, but also like a collaboration like with two parties. And
Mhm.
I think it's always important that two parties are on the same page. Like, what exactly are you looking for when you're getting into this? Is it career goals? Is it, personal development that you're looking for? Is it personal growth? Is it you trying to understand, I don't know, what you want to do in life? Because, mentoring is not about coaching. It's we're not coaches. We're here to tell you about our lived experiences and how we went through some things. And I think for me, I think what really helps most of the time is that you find someone who's similar to you. And
Mm.
I think like someone who's similar to you in terms of, like, let's say, educational background or even cultural background, I think it's something that you should be looking for when you're looking for a mentor or a mentee. Because certain things that I went through as a woman of South Asian heritage is something that I went through, and maybe someone who is of my same heritage also is going through. So I always say that's probably the starting point, to be able to find someone who's like similar to you from a cultural point of view, and also maybe someone from the same, I would say, educational point of view. Like, if I have to mentor someone who's in engineering and I don't even come from that background, for me, it's much harder to give you some advice on that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what kind of like jobs are there out there, so that, I would say those are like two starting points. Yeah.
Yep. To start with that mentoring. Is that a hard and fast rule? Does that limit and frame all mentoring relationships?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so, because I think, for instance, even someone who's in engineering, maybe they want to explore a little bit about, let's say, the finance world. And I think you want to be open to that as well. And they also have to be open in learning about that. So I don't think I wouldn't say it's a set rule. I
Right.
think it's also important to diversify a little bit your mentorship circle. Like, it's the more diversified it is, the better it is for you and the better it is for you in terms of like knowledge that you're getting.
Mhm.
Um, and- but yeah, I think it's definitely not it's not a set rule. I think it's important to have a more of an open to be more open-minded when it comes to that. I think that you're able to connect a bit easier when someone shares a little bit of your, same passions and same background. But I think either way it works. It works either way, I would say.
So I think one of the things that you're getting at, and I think you described this really beautifully at the very beginning, is we've got to start somewhere in the mentoring relationship. And I think the two important pieces that we start with, one of them is that idea of starting with an understanding of, well, who am I, right? I think you would affirm that we start with self-awareness, right? What am I
Yeah.
bringing to the table? And then you made this really powerful conversation. So let's unpack start self-awareness first, and then we'll come back to this powerful conversation of human connection, which is the idea of then who is this other person and what do they want? So this exchange. So let's start with self-awareness first and then come back to the human connection part, because you said that beautifully and I want to come back and unpack that. But let's start with self-awareness. So what are some of the tools that you have used, Urmi, in your own experience? What are some of the things that you do to get clarity, to sort of ground yourself when you've been finding your own mentors? If you're encouraging someone else to go look for a mentor, if someone has decided, do I need a mentor? Is this the moment in my life when I'm looking for a mentor, or I'm looking, do I need a mentor right now, or who should I go find, or how do I know if mentorship is the right next step for me?
So I, so here's the thing. Um, do I need a mentor? I think we always need a mentor no matter where we are in life. That's that's guaranteed. Like it's a hard yes. Like we do need a mentor. But when it comes to finding a mentor, I think that there are several ways that you can do that. And I always say that the first resource is the one that you have at work. Like a lot of companies, they do have a mentorship program embedded in their workplace, and I would say take advantage of it. Like
Mm,
literally take advantage of it. These are like free services given to you. You get to know people from other departments. You get to be connected with people that you wouldn't have thought about connecting with. And this is what happened to me. This is how it happened to me when I first started to work. I had my first connection, like my first mentoring connection with someone at work. Maybe it was someone from another department. I didn't think I was going to learn a lot from this person, but I did, and I was open to that idea. And usually, a lot of these programs, they do have like a questionnaire. So you have to complete a questionnaire that will ask you like, what are some of your interests? What are some of the things that you want to get from your mentorship relationship? And usually like the third party like matches you with someone who they think you're fit with. So I would always say your workplace is the first place to
okay.
start.
Mhm.
And I would say like mentorship relationship is a sort of like a self-discovery type of process
Mhm.
because you are basically tapping into this unknown world. You're not quite sure what you got out of it, but you have to be open about getting to learn from the other person and be genuinely curious about it. You know, like when I got into my first mentorship relationship, I had a male mentor. I didn't know this person. I was a bit skeptical, if I have to be honest, because I was like, I'm not sure how much I'm going to get out of it. But I let myself be very open to it. And I would like openly like tell my mentor, okay, these are some of the things that I'm working on. And these were not related to my work. Those things relating to my things outside of work. And he was always encouraging me. And so for me, that was the process that I started with. But then the more I was into this mentorship program, the more I realized the things that I wanted to get from a mentorship relationship. So my next mentoring relationship was much better. It
Mhm.
was much better because I think I had a clear idea of what I wanted to have from a mentor. And so as we were speaking about earlier, like one of my other unofficial mentor was my ex-manager. She was my manager for like 2 years, but she wasn't never officially my mentor, but I did look up to her as a mentor because I feel like she was a great leader. She was always like motivating me. She was always pushing me to go and pursue my goals. She was always, encouraging me. And I think that was the moment that I realized, okay, this is what I need from a mentor, and this is how I should be if I'm ever a mentor, like to invest in the growth of the person that I'm mentoring. And it was through all these like multiple relationships I think I had a much clearer idea of what an ideal mentorship relationship should be. It's learning both ways. It's about respecting each other, and it's also about being proactive. I think that when you are getting into a mentorship relationship, you want to be ready about what you want to talk about, the things you want to get out of it. And I think it goes both ways, from the mentor and from the mentee. And you want to have those kind of relationship because sometimes people get in a mentorship relationship, but they're not quite sure what you get out of it, and you're not sure how to guide them. And that's quite difficult.
Right. Yeah, that clarity, that initial clarity of what is it that you want out of this relationship, and then the other person can help guide you. So that's going to take us to that second piece, is that human connection, right? We
Hmm.
have it's almost like defining the relationship. It's almost like setting the terms of our engagement. How do we, whether it's a formal, I know that some workplaces have formal mentoring responsibilities, like it might be some when I know I worked in an organization that had an onboarding mentor. When you
Hmm.
first came on board, you were assigned someone to help you engage and integrate into the organization. And then I've had other organizations where there was a mentor specifically for women to help them elevate in the organization as they were becoming rising stars, or moving up into the director level or the VP level in the
Hmm.
organization. You would get a mentor to help you navigate or move up through those ranks. But um, how do we define specifically this authentic human connection, which I think you described human connection, and I want to go back to this. How do we, like, short of, let's say we're having a mentoring relationship and we're not part of a formal structured organization. We're outside of that. And let's say we're not in a corporate America where they have, or a
Hmm.
corporate Canada, where
Hmm.
they have a form to follow. Let's say we don't have one of those forms to follow, but we want to define the terms because we want to have this authentic human relationship, but we want to define our terms, and we both want to get something out of this. Urmi, how do we do that? How do we make this two-way relationship work between mentor and mentee? What have you seen? What do you got?
So here's the thing that I do when I get into, let's say, into building that human connection. I try to see the person more as who they are. And I never try to engage into this conversation about, okay, what are some of your goals? I try to like get to know this person as I would, as if I'm meeting a stranger for the first time,
Mm,
or as if like I'm going on a coffee date with a friend, let's say. Like this is like it's about being spontaneous and genuine into getting to know the person more as who they are, and to listen also their stories about, what is it that they're trying to get out of their life? What is it that they want to do in terms of their career, and just to really understand the person for the first time. It's a little bit when you go to a doctor, right? Like you build that relationship, that trust between two people. Or let's say when you go and meet a financial advisor for the first time, before you give your money to a financial advisor, you want to make sure that you trust the person, right? I think that's important. And I think that's how also the human connection is supposed to be. It's about trusting the other person. It's about, being able to see this person as resourceful, responsible. You want to see this person as, someone that I can really be vulnerable with sometimes, because I think when you are getting into, a mentorship relationship, is also about showing a little bit about yourself, because sometimes I think what the problem is that sometimes we want to get into business and it looks a bit fake, the relationship. So I always try to treat this more like, okay, if I'm meeting a friend for the first time and I really want to get to know the person, what are some of the things that I would like to talk about? And it could be also about sharing things such as fun things, such as, I like to do this like on the weekend. I like to, watch this show on Netflix. I like to read this kind of books. And I think it makes it a bit more authentic. The relationship becomes
yeah.
authentic when you talk about other things that are not related to your goals in life. And so that's how I treat it. That's how I build that connection. A little bit about how you are meeting a friend or, someone for the first time.
Yeah. Even if it's someone that you know or have known before, reframing and just stepping back and saying, "Hey, let's rebuild. Let's start from scratch for a second."
Yeah, and
Mhm.
if I could add a little bit to that, and I don't know if you're familiar with this concept called Frentor. Are you familiar with this or not?
No, go ahead.
No? Okay, so Frentor, it's a combination of friend and mentor.
Okay.
So that's how you get the word
Uh-huh.
Frentor.
Yep.
And basically, I have a lot of mentors in my life, like who are both my friend and my mentor. And it's something that I realized only afterwards. And I was reading an article about it where they were talking about what mentors are. And sometimes you don't realize it, but some of your friends or most of your friends are also your mentors.
Mhm.
And I have few of my friends who have been there for me from the beginning. They know everything about me and they have always guided me. And that's when I started to realize that even my friends could be great mentors. It's about really finding the right people. And that's why you have to be surrounded with the right people. If you want to grow as a person, you need to be surrounded by right people, people who are really willing to see your growth, your personal growth, who are willing to really encourage you and they want to see you, developing into the person that you're meant to be. So I always think about like friend or like I always think about the people that I'm meeting or the people that I have around me. I want to make sure that they're my mentors, not just my friends or my mentors, but like a combination of both. So I think that that's another way to see it as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, th this moves us into the idea of more than one mentor, and I've always believed that the and it sounds like this is what you're describing as well, that a person can and maybe should, maybe you would even say should have more than one mentor in their life.
I
And when
do.
I used to think of it, I sort of compartmentalized it. Like I have mentors for how I show up, like in my cooking. I have a kitchen mentor who guides me in my growth in how I show up in my culinary expertise. And I have a parenting mentor, and I have a mentor in my faith journey, and I have a mentor in my business journey, and I have a mentor in my how I show up for my community. And I have mentors in different fields, and I have a mentor in how I show up in particularly my church leadership, and I have a mentor in how I show up in music, right? So I have mentors in different fields and different disciplines and different things. And your perspective here is that would make perfect sense to you. That
Yeah, so I'm going to make an analogy with finances. So there is an expression in finance where we say, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Mhm.
And the same applies with mentorship. Don't have just one mentor, have different kind of mentors from different backgrounds. Because I think the more mentors you have, the more ideas you'll be able to get, the more knowledge you'll be able to get, the more creative you will get as well. Maybe one day you wanna, I don't know, you wanna become something else, or you wanna like navigate another path. Maybe you can ask this person, about some guidance how they did it. So I also like to believe in the idea that you can have mentors from different paths, from different ages, from different, educational background, from different career background, from different cultural background. And I think it's important to have that because I think you get to have different perspective. You get to expand your network. It always goes back to networking and connections. And you get to expand a lot more your knowledge because I think, as I said before, like, sometimes learning, it doesn't have to be through books. It doesn't have to be through taking classes. It could be also by meeting different people, getting to know different people. And I think it's important to diversify your connection by having a lot more mentors or having different mentors from different backgrounds. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and so much of learning, in fact, only 10% of learning happens in a formal learning situation anyway. 20% of learning
Yeah.
happens in that relationship, and the other 70% happens through experience. And so if through those relationships you get to go have new experiences, man, that's
Yeah.
that's a better way to do it. And we're experiencing things with more people. We're increasing the opportunity through which we can go have more and different, richer, better experiences than we might have otherwise
Exactly.
had. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us, maybe share an example or a story from somewhere in your mentoring experience where having multiple either mentors or mentees helped open some doors for you or open some paths for you.
So I do have a lot of experiences, and I do have a lot of like experiences with having mentors and mentees and so forth. So for mentors, basically, I had male mentors, I had female mentors, and it was very interesting because I feel like the mentors had different opinions and different perspectives. And I think it gave me a lot more clarity at the same time. I was getting, the perspective of a man, I was getting a perspective of a woman. And this was from a career point of view, like this was in finance. I also had mentors from Toastmasters.
Yeah.
In Toastmasters, they do have a mentorship program, and I had a mentor who was helping me along the way on how to, get done with my public speaking and get done with my speeches. And that was very interesting because it was a third perspective. It was just about public speaking. It was just about giving you guidance about public speaking. And from a mentee perspective, it was very, very interesting because I had mentees who were much older than me. I think I had a mentee who was probably closer to her 50. And I never, like, she was probably the only person that I mentor who was in her 50, but it was interesting to see how she really wanted to work on herself. And it's nice to see that because I think sometimes when we reach a certain age, we just don't feel like doing anything. But it was nice to see that she really wanted to work on herself. And it gave me also time to think a little bit about myself through this connection because I was like, it's important that I continue learning even after I reach a certain age. So she was really like, I want to create a YouTube channel, I want to create a cooking book, and that was very, very nice. And I also had a mentee who was in her 20s and she was coming from a finance background. And honestly, I love mentoring her because I could see how joyful she was and
Mm.
how determined she was. And I think even from her, I learned about, I learned about the skill of determination. Like you really have to be, like you should not feel, how can I say, like you should not feel discouraged when you get a rejection. Because she
Mm.
was getting a lot of rejections from internship and so forth, and she would still like get up and go for what she wanted to go for. So I learned about determination from her. And I had also women from Nigeria who moved from Nigeria to Montreal. And she was like, I want to work on my English. I want to find a job. I want to study. And that too really taught me about tenacity. It taught
Mm.
me about perseverance, like it's another perspective. I'm like mentoring
Yeah.
someone who just moved. She just moved from another country, but I learned also from that. Like I learned about, being humble. I learned about being honest. I learned about also like perseverance. And I feel like I'm always learning something. I'm getting something from each relationship. And these are the things that I cherish. I find it like these are our rich experiences. They really make us think about life. They make us think about the person that we should be, how we should not, how we should be grateful about the things that we have. So I'm always getting something from each relationship.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. So as we go through this kind of journey of mentorship and we're starting to, in the interest of time here, starting to wrap this up, is there something that we haven't talked about as we're thinking about when messages that you would want someone to have if they're thinking about mentorship? We've certainly talked about becoming self-aware, making sure you know what you're looking for that clarity, the idea of making sure it's an authentic connection. We've got a shared understanding of why we're building this relationship, and we're making a human relationship, and that it's going to persist. But that we have goals, and that we're both getting something out of that. And the idea of having multiple mentors, building
Mhm.
a perhaps multiple mentors that we can learn from and grow from. What else? Any other nuggets that you want us to have as we wrap this up today?
So I think one thing that I want to share to the people listening is that we all need a mentor in our life, and we can find a mentor in anyone. It could be a friend, it could be from a sibling, it could be from literally from anyone. And when you're choosing a mentor, just be careful about it. You want to make sure that you are choosing a mentor who's really willing to invest in you, who's really to nurture you, and who's willing to see your growth. I always say when it comes to finding, a mentor, yes, diversify. It's not always about quantity, it's also about quality. And there are so many organizations out there who are looking for mentors, who are looking for a mentee. And if you want to see if you need a mentor, or if you want to work on yourself, sign up to one of these programs. Sign
Mhm.
up, get into this mentorship relationship, and you will realize through a lot of these trial and errors how much benefit you can get from this mentorship relationship. So I always say, like, go for it, go and try it. There's a lot of benefits that you get from it, whether you're a mentor or a mentee. It's a learning experience, it's a learning opportunity, and it's a connection that you're building that could be, valuable on a long run. So always go and look for a mentor or sign up to be a mentor. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. Urmi, if our listeners wanted to get in touch with you, certainly they can reach out to us and we will connect them. But how else should they find you if they want to learn more?
So I do have a LinkedIn profile called Urmi Hossain. I have a YouTube channel called Urmi Hossain. And if they want to find out about the work that we do, or the work that I do with Women in Leadership, they can go and sign up and go and look up Women in Leadership Foundation Canada. And we also have a mentorship program which is about to start. So we are looking for mentors, we're looking for mentees. And honestly, Women in Leadership, it's a great platform out there for the women out there who really want to, climb up the corporate ladder, who want to work on themselves. And we do have a great range of mentors who can really help you. So that's another way to find out more about what I do. And if they want to connect with me, they can also do that through Women in Leadership Foundation Canada.
Fantastic. Thank you. And this would not be the Even Better podcast if I did not ask my trademark question, which is what's making you even better these days, Urmi?
Oh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I would say probably the fact that um, I like to consider myself an explorer, and I like to consider myself someone who likes to discover new things. And most of the times I do say yes to different things, to a lot of opportunities, even though I might be a little bit I don't know, I would like to walk away. Maybe I feel shy, but I do say yes to a lot of things. And so um, I would say it's probably that, like participating to different events, being open to participating events and seeing what's out there. So pretty recently I did a workshop about how to make a bubble bath, which was a completely new experience, but I was so happy that I did it. So happy.
Oh, fantastic. How to make a bubble bath. Oh, that's
Yeah,
great. No,
so fun.
I love that you tried that. That's wonderful. It's so saying
Yeah,
yes and exploring and trying new adventures.
that's it.
I
That's
love
it.
it. I love it. Urmi, thank you. What a joy to have you with us today. It's been a pleasure to meet you and to spend this time with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you so much for listening. I hope this has been insightful and added to your day and that you can use it to co-create better work days and better communities around you. And on behalf of all of us here at Your Clear Next Step, we hope the rest of your day is even better.
Thank you for tuning in today. The Even Better podcast will be back with more content soon. But in the meantime, subscribe to our podcast or check out our website at yourclearnextstep.com for more information. See you next episode.